I'm Sawyer, and you're listening to Our House A to Z.
Okay, and we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Friday.
Friday.
I wanted to let everybody know, listen, over the last couple of years, you have heard us talk on here so many times about the importance of pulling your kids as much as you can out of public schools and all the garbage that's happening in the school systems, the curriculums that they're indoctrinating our kids with and all of that stuff, and the high value that we put on Christian education, homeschooling, all of that kind of thing. And
it's getting me excited, babe.
You know
that
last year we opened King's Academy, which is kindergarten through 12th grade. And we are coming in on the close of our very first year, which is incredible and crazy and awesome and has been so good. All the kids are like so excited to go back next year. So we're excited for them. But I wanted everybody to know, in case you don't go to HPC, we have our very first King's Academy Gala coming up on June 8th. And we're excited about that. We're hosting an event at Hillside Country Club on June 8th that evening. And you can register for it online on the church website, hpc.church, or on King's Academy website. But we want to invite you to it. If you have a heart for Christian education, like maybe you don't have kids that are in school right now, maybe you have grandkids that are, or your kids are older and graduated, and you have a heart and a passion to kind of fund and get behind what's going on with Christian education and not just be somebody who talks about it and thinks it's a good idea, but actually participates in that and invests in that,
right.
We would love for you to come out to that event.
Amen. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think it's about vision. It's not about people that just have school-aged kids. I think a lot of times we hear school stuff and we're like, we tune out because, my kids go to a different school, or my kids are too old for this or too young for this, or I don't have kids yet, or I'm not even married yet. But I love the idea of just buying in, like around the idea that you're part of something bigger, you're part of a bigger community that has bigger needs than just yours. And honestly, as Americans, it would not hurt us to do something a little more selfless. I picked up a book the other day in a local bookstore, and I started reading the back, and it like turned my stomach because they're talking.
No doubt.
Well, it was like a socialist author, and
what democratic socialism means to me.
The book was like all about the anti-American spirit. It was like basically how like the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing is a big lie, and like we've peddled this whole thing that's like you should be able to help yourself, like you should be able to do things for yourself, you should be able to, and it's like saying like that's actually what got America in the mess that she's in.
Oh, interesting.
And it's like you were never meant to have like an independent spirit and all this kind of stuff. And I think I could get the independent spirit thing for the sake of pride, like, you know, like you shouldn't be prideful. But I do love the idea of how the real American dream, because that's what kind of the whole premise was, how the American dream is like really a big lie. But the real American dream.
Wait, it's a big lie if you do stuff for yourself. Like if you try to like if be independent?
If you succeed without the government's assistance, or how like social programs are really the only right way, like it's the only ethical way to actually, you know, like improve your standing. It was nonsense.
Does anybody ever consider when they hear those things how the money gets to the government in the first place?
Well, and that's the thing. So it's like if wealthy people just paid for all of these things, then everybody would do them. So you shouldn't be wealthy for yourself kind of thing. Anyway, it's a
I mean, I do agree with that. Yes.
Well, I think it's a really perverted way of it's a really just twisted, screwed up philosophy altogether. Not that there aren't some elements of it that if you peel back a bunch of layers, you might find some element of truth in it. But the deal is, at the end of the day, and the thing that I think is really interesting is that when I think back to the American dream, I think, you know, my mind goes to the movies, the era when, you know, the Leave It to Beaver, you know, and the families are all together, a family unit, traditional in that sense. But none of these people were independent. They were all there for each other. There was actually that was the day of, you know, if you need a cup of sugar, you like walk across the street and borrow it.
You mean in the horrible days where women were only allowed in the kitchen?
Right. Well, you wouldn't need a cup of sugar unless you were in the kitchen baking something. So obviously now, you know, that wouldn't be the case. But I just I think of how the independent piece, or the self-succeeding or self-surviving mindset that was a dream long before it was a country. that thing was never this like me and only me and I'm only working for me. It was always about the nation. It was always about the collective, like we're in this together, where we're, when something happens to somebody on our street, everybody pitches in. It's almost like the neighborhood worked like the church.
Like the New Testament church.
Yeah, and I think that's actually why so many people have made this big mistake of like confusing patriotism with Christianity, and thinking of themselves as like conservative Americans, and that's this integral part of their faith, which I think is another mistake that we can die on an extreme there and really mess things up. But there's a reason for it, and the reason why we've arrived at that, like closer to that side of the road, is because there was a time when this nation actually looked a lot like the New Testament church. And none of that was selfish. It was all like, hey, no, if you make something, if you have extra of something, you share it with the people. Like you have a garden and,
Yeah, I get it. It's just then, it can be taken so extreme, and then it's like socialists and, but I totally get what you're saying. And it's all to say we would love you to be a part of what's going on here at King's Academy. And
right, so that was the point. Yeah. So the idea is I want to get back to that as a church, where it's like, hey, just because you don't have kids yet or you're not married yet, and I do specifically want to talk to the young adults. I think the grandparent age is an easy target, which by the way, they need to be involved too. And but the young adults, whether you have kids yet, whether you're married yet, like get on a rhythm of investing in children.
And giving.
Giving
in general.
Giving in general.
I think so many times at that age, we're constantly like waiting, and it's like that part of my life can't start until I'm married and have kids. And then all of a sudden, like I reach this threshold where now I can be like a real adult. Yeah. And it's like, no, when you're 18, my friend, you are a real adult. You are. That's it. Responsibilities start now. And in Hebrew culture, it's like 13. Right. You're a real adult. But anyway, not quite, but you're on your way. Oh, my. Anyway, in local news, I thought that this was fascinating. Ben sent me this article today, and I thought this was very interesting. Many people know that there was the big Taylor Swift concert this past weekend. Love it. I think it was like 3 nights or something like that. I love Taylor Swift. Okay. You can thank your daughters for that. I mean, I love some of her music. I will go as far as that. She definitely turned dark. She definitely got weird. Definitely some weird things. Anyway, there are definitely some strange things. She did used to be 7 feet tall, though. There's something going on there. About that? I feel like she got taller. I don't know. Since when? I don't know. Since over the course of her career. 18, or did you know her at a point when was she cutting record? I don't know, but I think. Did you ever see her in real life? No, I've never seen her in real life. She got taller in your mind? Yeah, I guess Interesting. So. Maybe she just started wearing like 11-inch heels or something. Anyway. Is that possible? If you live around the area, you know we had crazy rain on Saturday, and it was so nice. It was much needed. Yep. But it was torrential for hours and hours. Well, she still held that concert on Saturday night. At Gillette. Gillette Stadium is the most joyful place on earth. At Gillette Stadium, open air football stadium. And the place was completely packed out, and everybody had ponchos and covered for, hours in the rain. For that, which is crazy. But I mean, you had to. I mean, people spent hundreds of dollars on tickets. I mean, you had to go. But what Ben found that was really interesting is that people were bottling or putting in jars the rain from that Taylor Swift Eros concert. Eros? Yeah. And selling it. Wow. Yep. $250. You too can have a small jar of rainwater that rained in Gillette Stadium. At the Taylor Swift concert. Would you pay for that? I actually already have that rainwater. You do? It's in a wheelbarrow and buckets and all over the place. Everything that caught rain in our backyard. Same rain. It's the same rain. That same rain. It's the same rain. Yep. I mean, I'm in the state of Massachusetts where the concert happened. We were so close, but yet so far. I feel like the rain is the same rain, so I'm willing to sell that. If anybody, just put it in a jar. I'll sell that for a little less. Now, here's a question: would you need to require proof? And how do you get that proof that that rain water in that jar is from that concert?
Well, if you
How do you
needed
back
proof,
up something like that?
If you needed proof, though, it sounds almost like you might be suggesting that someone may try to create some sort of counterfeit version.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but
I don't see any Taylor Swift fan doing anything like that.
Never.
Too much integrity among that crowd.
Never. The good thing is you actually don't even have to be a Taylor Swift fan or have ever even gone to the concert to participate in that. So there you go.
Yeah, you could literally, yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe you need like to show your ticket stubs, pictures of you collecting the water there.
Because you were thinking ahead of time, like what I need to do is bring like empty vessels to collect
That'll preach.
the rainwater.
That'll preach.
To collect the rainwater
Go ahead.
at the concert.
Go ahead.
And then I'm going to sell it online.
I think that's crazy. But let me ask you this.
Entrepreneurs everywhere.
So Taylor Swift is an interesting icon of influence among young women, specifically among the you can succeed. You can go do this for yourself. You can be whatever you want to be. Kind of like young women are powerful and blah 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 blah.
Interesting.
So let me.
I don't
ask
really
you,
get that vibe from her, but okay.
No, she is. She's like one of.
I feel like all her songs are love songs.
That's true, but her persona is like she's like a self-made billionaire.
Okay. I feel like she's less like Beyonce. I would say yes. Beyonce is all like
all girl power.
Like
Who runs the world?
girls, like all of those. I mean, she has like collections of songs like that.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you this as a mom for young women. Okay. When it comes to the love song, neediness, the boys, the whole relationship thing versus we want to believe in women empowerment. You don't need to be told who you are by a boy that's like your age,
right,
who wants to say you're his girlfriend and boss you around or whatever. I mean, obviously we're talking about two different extremes, but all you got to do is come in a couple steps from either side and you've got some decisions to make as parents. And so we're raising two little girls right now, and I'm curious about the influence piece, what your thoughts are on that, of do we want them to believe in like women empowerment, the Taylor Swift thing that you can be, the Beyonce thing that you can be a self-made millionaire, you can do anything you aspire or dream to do. And again, I know I actually just preached this message at a youth rally that like we're supposed to like let our dreams die so that we can take off that like
I'll try
piece.
to.
Yeah.
I'll try to. I mean, I think it's hard. I'm not really the fan of like you can be anything you want to be because you can't. Like everybody has different giftings and talents and availabilities in life. So no, you can't really be anything you want to be, unfortunately.
Well, that's not what they're selling our young women. It's like no,
the empowerment thing. I do appreciate some female empowerment. Like I do appreciate them feeling like confident in who they are and not needing somebody to like validate who they are, not relying on a relationship to feel like you've succeeded in life or all of that. I do appreciate that. And I think for young girls, like our age girls, I would rather them err on that side at this age than on I need a boyfriend. The boyfriend. I mean, our girls are only 8 and 10, so obviously there's no boyfriend conversations happening.
You say that, but among other girls their
I'm saying
age,
for us.
Yeah.
I'm saying for us.
Yeah.
That's not where our girls are at right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I know it's going to be soon enough, and it's going to be in the next couple of years. Those are the conversations we'll be having. And so I would love in these few years to get them as confident as possible in who they are.
And when Ashley says those are the conversations that we'll be having, it doesn't mean that it's because they'll have boyfriends.
Oh, no.
It means
No.
the conversation starts to turn to like who likes who and
all
who's
of
cute
that. I mean,
who crush is.
Even like the 10-year-olds, like you're already hearing like the who likes who, but it's kind of like
they don't even know what that
insignificant
means.
and
prayerfully.
But there's Lori St. Elmi. It's her birthday today.
Happy
she just
birthday.
texted me.
Not on Friday, but last Tuesday.
Yes. So anyway, I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So then you have another whole like sphere of parents and child raising philosophy around that's like probably a little bit more on the traditional or fundamental side, a little bit more on the conservative side, I'd say at least. And that is that like, no, we want these women to grow up believing that like God made them to be wives and mothers and to, you know, run a household with excellence and, you know, be a support system for their family and their husbands. And how in the world do you balance that when there are so many influences today that want to push and pull on both those?
Oh my gosh. As a parent?
Yeah, as a parent. I mean, you
I think
you
as a
could
parent,
start off,
you
could start off as
by
a daughter.
example.
Like, how about you when you were a teenage or preteen or college daughter? What did you feel like was the thrust behind, you know, your parents and the motivation to get married, the motivation to go to pre-law, like go to school for pre-law? That's like a pretty independent like thing to do, but somehow that wasn't like you're going to be this like powerful young woman in Manhattan that like is never going to need a husband and you don't need a family to validate you.
I never felt like that. I mean, I always like, I don't know. I never remember like a lot of conversations around that, like one or the other. Like, oh, you need to get married. Or I think my parents probably said at some point, wait till you get married till you finish college or something. I'm sure they said something to that degree somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, because you've invested this much into it, like it's not worth just throwing it away to like get married on a whim when you're only talking about like a couple of years.
Now, even those lines, though, it's not worth it to throw it away.
Yeah.
Because even whether or not they actually said that, I think that that's actually a really good line to consider, because I think that is the mindset a lot of times is if you just get married young, you're going to throw away your career or your degree or you're going to whatever.
Well, because I think a lot more than schooling is impulse decision making. Relationships tend to be more impulse decision making.
Okay.
And so I think that you see a lot of people kind of randomly make impulse decisions, usually when they're younger, 18, 19, 20, where it's like, this is who I'm supposed to marry and we're going to get engaged and get married now. I know I'm 2 years into school, but like, just forget this and I'm going to go get married. And I think during that season, that generation, I want to say, I mean, I graduated high school in 2003. So probably through the 2000s, I feel like I remember seeing that. Like that happened to some people. Like my roommate decided not to finish school and she got married.
How did that work out?
Great. But I mean, for her, which was their own choices and stuff, but she got pregnant. So she ended up kind of like saying, all right, we're just going to go get married. And
you're not
put
even
the school
a
away.
big fan of, you're not even one of the advocates of like, if you get pregnant, you need to marry each other.
I'm not. Yeah. No, I'm not an advocate of that.
But it worked out for your roommate.
Yeah, it did. And they had a great relationship. They were already planning. They wanted to get married. That was already the conversation. And had they not got pregnant, they both would have finished school at the same time. And then, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a intentional, like, let's throw school away.
Yeah. But would you still say, but school got thrown away because she didn't finish?
Yeah, I do. I think her parents spent money on a couple years of school. She had to do, like, almost finished a degree under her belt that she could have used at any point. So is that the choice she wanted to make at that moment? Probably not. Has there been total like reconciliation and redemption and healing and all of that? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's what the Lord does.
Well, I just wonder, like, I feel like marriage is like the more important thing. Like marriage is like way more important than your degree.
I do too.
Or whatever.
I agree, but I don't think that means you just get married to get married. Like, I don't think every time you have an emotional, like, whim decision at 18 years old when your brain is not even fully developed yet, that because you're hormonal, you just get married because marriage is more important than school. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, it seems kind of like an extreme.
I don't think it's an extreme. I think that is usually the reality.
I think if you go to school for a couple of years and
you're pushing me off the chair with your feet.
Yeah, just keep going. I'm going to end up with you on the floor. I'm not pushing you anywhere. I'm sitting perfectly still.
You're messing up my electric blanket.
Oh my gosh, it's like a nursing home over here. Oh, forget it.
The problem is you make me tuck this cord all the way around the whole entire desk so it doesn't go across you.
The problem is that you have a cord. That's the problem.
It's an electric blanket. Speaking of electric blankets, do you want to tell everybody our weird electric blanket story?
I don't know if I'm ready to. Every time I talk about our bedtime stories, you don't like them. You don't like it.
This is not a bedtime story.
I will tell the story as long as our sex life doesn't pay for it. That's what I Because there's been a lot lately that I feel like our sex life's having to pay for. So
There are things that it does, and that's on you. That's on you. All right, let me tell you this.
I would not have even noticed because I'm not as literally physically sensitive as you. You're a much more like sensitive person, and I'm like, my whole body is like callous.
Can you
a little
clarify
bit or something.
physically sensitive? Like
physically, like you detect, like the Princess and the Pea sensitive. Like you detect
like under 50
things.
Mattresses.
Yes, like that grain of sand that's there.
That is, which let me tell you, as a kid growing up, that was really hard because you can never have like a little piece of sand in your shoe or
I'm
a
there.
scratch on your sleeve, like anything on your sleeve or your tags.
I have really sensitive feet. I do have sensitive feet because I never went barefoot.
Anyway.
Because we weren't poor. Just kidding.
Anyway, are you going to tell the story or do you need me to tell it?
You can tell it.
You're a better storyteller.
I think you can tell it. It had been going on for weeks. Maybe months.
Months. The weirdest thing.
How did you even first acknowledge it?
We'd get into bed at night, and I know, much to people's chagrin, we have a TV in our room. We'll watch a movie or a show or whatever, and every time Zach would touch me at all, like touch my face.
Come on, now touch me, babe.
And, or my arm, or specifically, worse, my ears.
Oh.
It would be buzzing. Like a buzz, like a little tiny
vibration.
Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's because it's so dry. It was all winter. I'm like, it must be the dryness.
Like
but what's so weird is I'm thinking during the day,
how
how do I not notice it? And I'm like, okay, because I'm not as sensitive. And during the day, you're kind of too busy to think about it. But when you're laying down at night, there's this we are creating electricity.
Which I've said for years.
Between ourselves. I mean, it would be like any touch at all.
What you're saying is I'm electric in bed.
It's electrifying.
That's what you're saying.
Would be this weird like buzz feeling.
Electrifying.
And I just kind of got used to it and like I hated it, but what are you going to do? Be like, don't touch me. So months go by.
I didn't know you hated it.
Zach, it was so weird. I thought I was being like electrocuted, like in all these little senses in my body were going to be like messed up from these electric currents.
I have had that effect.
I thought it could be radiation. I had no idea.
Yeah, like it's the wireless cell phone charger.
Yes, I'm thinking all of these things.
It's radiation.
So I started telling Zach about it like a while later, and he couldn't feel it. And I kept saying like, no, like, do you feel it now? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? No, don't touch me. Let me touch you. And I'll like gently touch his face. Do you feel that? No, I don't feel anything. Let me see your arm. Let me try to hear. Do you feel this? No. Then you did feel it a little bit at some point.
Well, because what I found out was I noticed a difference between like if I was touching your arm and then like if my foot would lean over and touch your foot or something, it would stop. And then I was like, oh, that's weird. There's like a subtle difference that I never would have picked up if I didn't have like the A-B of like, okay, I'm touching you and with my finger. And then as soon as I would touch you also with my foot, it would immediately like something would change. And I was like, oh, this must be what you're talking about. It didn't feel like electricity to me. It didn't feel like vibrations. It like, I can't even explain it.
Anyway. How did we decide that it must be the electric blanket?
It was like Close Encounters.
It definitely was. It was so weird. But we were like, there's a weird electrical current because it's not working. If we're touching in like two different places at the same time, you don't have it.
I thought like, okay, the only way that it could be, because you kept saying electricity over and over. And I'm like, the only thing it could possibly be is the blanket. And so I reached down and unplugged my side of the blanket, and I think you did yours.
Yeah, we
at the same
unplugged
time.
our electric blanket,
and then we got back in bed, and it was gone. For the first time in like 6 months or something.
So weird. Now, first of all, we're not under an electric blanket. This is because of somebody in particular.
What?
The electric blanket has to go under the fitted sheet on the bottom.
What? That's me. That's on me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
I mean, I've never heard of that in my whole life. Actually, no, I haven't. I was gonna say at the spa sometimes you can go and they'll have the bottom heated, but other than that, usually people have it on top.
Okay.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I don't remember what I was going to say. The electric blanket's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just bizarre. It was so weird all year with feeling all these weird electrical currents. So there's something wrong with our electric blanket, I guess. I don't think you're supposed to feel.
It's like a low voltage leak.
Now is that something that's dangerous?
Nah, I don't think so.
Is that like fire starting material?
It probably made us younger. I feel like it was like electric shock therapy that rejuvenate. I mean,
I don't know if it's causing damage. So
well, I noticed
we did try replugging it in, and it definitely did it again.
I mean, my hair is definitely fuller.
Only in the morning. Anyway,
Yeah.
very weird.
And it did it again when we plugged it
Yeah.
in? Yeah. Oh, weird.
Yep.
Probably time for a new electric
I
blanket.
guess so.
I guess so. Doggone it.
I'll just bring this one from the office.
Oh, please don't. I just, I am very grateful that it didn't burn the house down or
Me
something.
too.
So
That's great.
just a little shock.
But speaking of yesterday, you can tell the next story. Tell them what happened yesterday.
What happened yesterday? Oh, speaking of the buzzing.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is like a catch up on all of our weird stories. So, we had staff day.
But we didn't
at
have
the
anything
house
really
this
important to
week.
talk about today, so why not?
We had staff day at the house, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody came out, and our whole staff, which is how many, 20-something people?
Yeah, I think there was 27.
7 people. Okay. So we're all out on our back deck and having a great time eating and talking and going through a little shameless plug here for Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius.
Yeah.
So, which was really cool and sparked sort of a great conversation for all of us. So we're going through all that information, and you say, something's happening with the bees. Now we're like, I don't know, maybe 50 yards or something from the back of our lawn where there are 3 beehives. And you say, something's happening with the bees. And they were like buzzing around like in a big pattern. And I'm like, nah, they're fine. They're just like, it's a sunny day. They're out doing their thing. And you're like, no, I think something's wrong. And then other people are like, what's happening to the bees? Like, what's going on with the bees, Zach?
And everyone was like, do they do this all the time? And you're like, yeah, they do. And I was like, no, they don't. I watch them all the time. And you're like, I watch them all the time. And they do this.
Well, they come in and out. They definitely they'll go on cleansing flights, and they'll do big things that look like they're going crazy and stuff, and it's random and it's weird. Like some days, like one day in the fall, they'll just like all of a sudden it's like every bee is out of the hive and they're like a cloud in the whole yard, and then they go back in and they do the same thing in the spring. So I'm like, no big deal, whatever. And I also knew that I had cut out all the queen cells from the one hive that wanted to swarm. Well, apparently I missed one or something, because Ashley was right, and I want to go on record as having said
Thank you.
that the queen bee knew what was going on.
Thank you.
And
Baby, you know I'm sensitive to things.
And thousands of bees with our whole staff on the back deck. I mean, thousands and thousands of bees.
Like tens of thousands.
Come out and like form this cloud and go.
But the way they were coming out, it felt like they were coming closer and closer to the house because of how many bees it was.
It was. So they end up.
People were like, "Should we go inside? Is this okay? Are they going to come this way?"
And I'm like, "They're fine."
And
as I'm putting my bee suit on.
You didn't. You started running into the bee swarm. Now, first of all, everybody has probably heard on here that you're allergic to bees. Not anaphylactically yet, thank the Lord.
I'm not going to yet. Why would you say that?
I'm just saying, because bee toxin gets worse. Your reactions get worse over time.
Oh, jeez.
And you started running into it with a bee box with no gear on at all, into a swarm of bees.
Yeah, but they weren't like
these are the times when my
aggressive.
Discernment, like red lights are flashing everywhere.
Okay.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, we should have another podcast episode just about those, your discernment lights. So I went in there because I wanted to
catch it.
I wanted to see like what the heck's going on. Anyway, they go up into a tree, like 25 feet above the beehives, and they just like cluster there. The swarm all clusters up right there.
No, I was only on the deck. So what was the size of that cluster up close? It's like 18 inches.
Yeah, it was moving. It was always moving. They didn't just like form a consistent shape and stay there. And at times,
so who picks to stay? Like there are some bees in the middle that are like. They're the ones that have to lock in place, and then everybody builds around them?
No, they're all moving all the time, but they like form a cluster, and they're all constant. No one stays still.
Why are they doing that?
But they're all around the queen, so the queen is in there. And at times they they're like two separate things kind of connected by a bridge, and then they'll come back together. But it took us 3 tries, but me and Jamal and John and Roger we're all kind of in it together. We set up a ladder and went up, and we caught the swarm and put it in a box.
Now,
and
P.S. They put a ladder on top of the tractor forks. Again, discernment red lights.
not on top, but leaning up against. So it was on the ground, and we used that as a stabilizer because all those trees were too thin. None of the trees there in that spot are strong enough to hold up a ladder. So extension ladder, way up high, go up with the pruning shears. I'm trying to prune off the branch. And of course, as soon as I do, it like snaps back, and the big jolt drops a huge piece of the cluster of bees, and they like all scatter into a cloud again.
That was
like,
the first time, right?
That was the first time.
Yeah.
And I got some bees that time, but I didn't get the queen. And then I do it again, didn't get the queen that time either. And they're like kind of recircling. And then finally on the last one, I was able to pull it close enough and snip it off. And Jamal climbed up the ladder behind me with the nuke box. We put it in.
My favorite part that he didn't have gloves on.
He didn't have gloves on.
He just had a jacket and a hat, like the head
suit,
covering.
Yeah, but he didn't have gloves.
And no gloves. And he's carrying that box. I was like, this is...
He also shimmied straight up a tree with no branches to like past me. I'm like on the ladder trying to reach the thing, and he's passing me a rake because I asked for one, and he's like higher than the bee. I'm like, what are you doing? And somebody's yelling something from the ground, like, come Mr. Tally Man, tally me banana.
That sounds like John. That would have definitely
from
been John.
From the ground. It was really funny.
Anyway. It's just, it felt like another day at our house where it's just
I just
crazy.
can't believe that
you
we were
can't
there.
make this stuff up. We were there watching the swarm
we watched
start.
it happen. We were able to capture it, and now I have another hive.
And we all will always remember that staff day out.
Yep.
That's for sure.
So fun. And Dave said, I talked to Dave this morning because we were filming the heart study, and he goes, he said, what was kind of nice is you saved me the money of a Discovery Plus subscription. I could just sit on your deck and,
It was great. We all sat in the sun. We turned all our chairs to the backyard and just watched the show for 2 hours. So there you go.
We got it. So.
We got it.
Anyway,
now that we've gone through lots of nonsense, do you have anything important you need to tell our friends before we let them go?
I just, no, I don't. Enjoy the sun. Enjoy the weather.
Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the sun. We do have some requests, I think, to catch up on, but we'll do those.
We will.
We'll get on it. And if you have any other thing that you haven't sent in yet, please, you can do that. info@hpc.church.
Yeah. And we're also going to be selling bottled rainwater from that concert. So on our website, you can
hpc.church.
get different size jars.
Taylor Swift rainwater.
That's it. All right. Love you guys. Have a great day.
This is Messer. And I'm Willa. This is our house from A to Z. Thanks for coming over.
Mother.
It's a rite of passage.
Mother, I crave violence.
Ba-down.